Ding dong. Hey, Alana.
Hi.
We're going to get started in a couple minutes here. Wait for people to log in.
Hey. How's it going?
Hey, Amy. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good.
How are you?
Thanks for joining us. Are you in your awesome new garage?
I am. It's my only place of privacy, but it's not even really just mine. So I moved to the suburbs, and Todd was all excited about having a garage to put the cars in. And I was like, if you put a car in here, we're getting divorced. Yeah. There are no cars in here.
Put a car in the barn or something.
Well, I did make a compromise that if we get like a huge nor'easter full of snow, I was like, okay, we can put one of the cars in. Definitely not two, but it's gonna be like my heart is gonna break and I'll never look at him the same. But that was the agreement.
It looks huge. Is
It looks,
a
yeah,
two-car?
it does look awesome.
It's our so it's a 2-car garage. So guys,
Wow.
you have in your what do you guys have for your flooring? This whole flooring bit, I did the stall mats to try to be a little bit more cost effective, and it kicked my tail the whole experience. I was like, I should have just spent the money on real good.
I was just having that conversation today with Jason, actually. One of our students, it's a horse barn, right? Like it's a multi-stall horse barn that he's remodeling. Anyway, he's going to turn it into his gym space. So we were talking about flooring today, and I cautioned him against the stall mats. I was like, I know people do it. You know, everyone on the internet swears by the stall mats, but these things weigh 80 pounds a piece, and you're going to lug them in one at a time. And if you ever want to change it, you're going to have to lug them back out.
I mean, but not even that. Like for somebody like I'm extremely like this is the worst thing for me because if there's like a minor crack, I obsess over it. I'm like,
That's like Patrick.
Crack on the floor. I couldn't handle it. So I got the mending plates to go underneath them. Like a mending plate, as YouTube informed me, I'm a YouTube warrior. It's like a metal claw, right? That is really meant for wooden beams.
Oh, cool.
Those put underneath the joints and brought them together and pounded them in. Of course, my husband's like, what are you doing? I came home with 20 horse stall mats in the back of my car. And he was like, are you joking me right now? Like, what? And I was like, oh, I think we're gonna need a little bit of help getting out of the car. I think I'm strong and all, but like, this is a doozy. So anyway, and then I'm like, I shaved off half of my finger trying to cut them, right? Like I didn't even know what I was, but now I have all the more pride in it because it looks okay. I did put tape on the floor, on the seams.
That's what I was saying to him today. Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah.
Mainly it's like when I'm cleaning, I was like, the water is going to get through the mats and then it's going to be like underneath. And then what if it gets moldy? And of course I extrapolated all of these horrible circumstances, my beautiful new stall mats in my gym. Like I can't work in a moldy place. Like this is not so anyway, long story short, I'm very happy that we moved out of the city. Like COVID we had hit our limit and we moved back home. I'm from Boston originally and I completely forgot how cold it is here. Like it blows my mind.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, how's the garage temperature?
So right now I have a heater and also an air conditioner, which I just shut off because it makes a little bit of noise. It's not horrible, but that's it. It's huge.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
And then it has a really effective drainage pipe that goes into this beautiful little Tupperware. So I don't know. Maybe eventually.
That's nice,
well, nothing can be colder than you being outside when you used to film
exactly.
out there.
Yeah, that was tough. And you know what's funny? It's almost like I black it out. Like whenever I come in and I'm like, oh, it's a little chilly. Meanwhile, it's November. It's not even cold, or December. It's not even really cold yet here. But that was. I mean, training was how I got through COVID. Really, I mean, like we were all, and thank God, I had enough stuff. I mean, I started my own kettlebell collection before I was even a coach. Kids were little and I was kind of getting into fitness, but like one kid has the sniffles and then they're home from daycare and then nothing happens for 3 days. So then that's when I started buying my first bell. And then over the years, it just kind of progressed to more and more. And then I started coaching myself. And then I bought this cat bar off of Amazon for like maybe $170. And I kept it outside in my backyard in Hoboken underneath like the stairs. So it wasn't even in the space, just totally outside. I just assumed it was gonna like be destroyed, and did all right, given, you know, it was probably outside for probably 3 years.
Wait, this was your pull-up bar or a barbell?
No, well, this is my pull-up bar. And then
okay.
COVID happened, I bought, actually, I think I had my weights. I had my deadlifting weights before COVID, but I ended up working out like when it was really cold. I was working out training out of my parking spot. Like we were in a communal garage, right?
Oh,
We had,
man.
I remember those videos.
like, thank God I had it because everything was closed down, right? And it's, you know, like communal garage and COVID or whatever. So I was like trying to hide behind my car because like, I didn't know how, if everybody else wanted me in the communal space, like breathing heavy. So that somebody would come down and then I'd hit the deck. I'd like lay down on my mat trying to pretend I wasn't there, but like everybody knew what I was doing.
Oh my God.
That's intense though. And you got to get it all to the garage, which is the hard part.
Yeah, did you drive it over there or do you just carried it all to the
I
spot?
had all, well, I mean, I had all my stuff. Well, it was underneath, like our garage, we were in like kind of a raised condo situation. So it was like, I kind of went out my back stairs and then it was our backyard and then right into the parking lot. So it was like all kind of close. I mean, at one point my hands would freeze because I'd be training outside on the bar and I put a heater, like a body heater, like a pad over the bar, trying to heat it up.
Oh, that's smart.
And I was like, I wonder if I'm gonna electrocute myself. Like, am I gonna die right now?
That's like a regular conversation on any fitness subreddit is like, how do I keep my equipment warm when I'm training in my shed or like out in the yard or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, you just woman up. That's what you do, or get a heater.
When did you first start coaching, Alana, and like how did that come about?
So I wasn't an athlete growing up at all. I started training after my second baby. So Chris it's gonna be 8 in December. So 2013 he was born. So I didn't really start like training consistently until he was about 6 months old. And then I got my NASM CPT in 2017 and did my first Strong First certification in 2017. That's kind of when it all started, but like my kids were still little and I was a stay-at-home mom before then. So I wasn't really, you know, I was training out of my house a little bit and and then I started working in a small studio in Hoboken. But it's been, you know, I would, you know, mom first, obviously. And so that was kind of the limiting factor for me as a coach was like, okay, I got to schedule myself around my kids. Like I want to pick my kids up. I love coaching and kettlebells changed my life 100%. And like, I can't express that enough. Like when I work with somebody new and they're like, well, I haven't worked out in forever. I'm like, so many wonderful things can happen if you just trust the process. If you like, it's not about, you know, killing yourself right now because you're starting and you're enthusiastic. Like, I want you to just show up. Like, I want you to just repeatedly come back. And I don't care if you're ready to, you know, you're 10 out of 10 on that day. Like, just show up. Because that's kind of where I was when I started. And, you know, I'm my own walking advertisement. That's my selling point. Like, please trust me. Like, really, I didn't have a body weight squat. And I was lucky. Like I don't know if you know Tyler Woodman. He was my original coach. And he really like helped me rework my fundamental movement patterns. And that was, I mean, truly, I didn't have a body weight squat at all. And I was like super bendy, couldn't figure out where, you know, I was like, my arm was back here and didn't understand how to lock out properly anywhere. But yeah, so it's been a journey for sure.
So is that kind of where you got exposed to kettlebells was through him or?
Oh yeah, totally. He had done his Strong First certifications and really the crunch in Hoboken was filled with a bunch of really strong people.
wasn't Marlon there?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there were, a bunch of SFGs there, but so that was actually where I met Marlon, became friends with Marlon, and we started hanging out like after I started assisting with Phil and whatnot. But it really was so I do attribute so much of the success of just being exposed to so many strong people, because you don't really, and that's like one really good thing about social media, I think, is, my mom worked out growing up, but like to really consistently see people, and obviously you see the ups and downs of training, not everybody's going crazy all the time, but I had no real expectation that women should be able to deadlift over 300 pounds or do a pull-up with a weight hanging off of them. Like, it just had never really crossed my mind. And then I was in a gym where, there were women doing amazing things all the time. And I was like, I'm no different than them. Like, this is BS. I have to fix this. So I think that
I feel like you're a very natural puller. Like your deadlift is so strong. What is it even up to now?
Well, after my Iron Maiden journey was like chopped up into pieces for so many reasons. So probably not last summer, the summer before, I was really focusing on my deadlift. I got it up to 335, which I was psyched about.
Wow.
And I backed off and just kind of, it was like I was training for Iron Maiden before COVID, and I was in the middle of a Plan Strong program when the world shut down. So I really kind of like put my head down and kept going and didn't stop. And it was like really not my only, but it was a wonderful way to feel progress when everything else was stagnated at that point.
Were your kids home during that entire period too?
Yes.
Yeah. Because that was really the hard part.
Well, I mean, how old, your kids are younger. Your kids are babies still, right? Like 5, 6.
Yeah, our son's in kindergarten, our daughter's 3.5. So
yeah, so you were in it too, just in like basic survival, but I was supposed to be teaching my kid how to read and like, and coach.
Yeah, on top of surviving.
Oh my gosh, on top of like not wanting to just like go insane, right? You've got these children sitting in front of computers, and the way our school had structured it was they were really sitting at the computer all day long. And then, it was like one kid was here, one kid was there. I'm trying to Zoom coach, right? And then I had to get 2 dogs because 1 dog wasn't enough, like in COVID. So then we had
you got some COVID pets.
No, and then I looked around, and we were in a city, right? So, oh my God, I looked around. I was like, Todd, we're done. We're moving. We're done. I don't care what the world looks like. This is not sustainable indefinitely. So, but I don't know where my tangent went off on. You asked me deadlift, pulling.
Well, but before we get too far away from what you were talking about right before that, you said something that I think is really cool about, like you said, social media, but also a lot of these strong first events is you get exposed to so many strong people. And I've always said to Rachel, any of the ones I went to, the women were the most impressive, because like you said, you see women doing things that people, like, they didn't have that general idea. And a lot of that started with CrossFit. Like, you see ladies doing these amazing gymnastic skills and weightlifting skills.
Yes.
And so Nikki had just hopped on the call, but she just signed up for Dome of Strength in April, which Rachel and I have never been to. But if you're going to bring everyone together in an environment like that, you're going to see some super strong folks. So
I've never been either. Let's go.
We signed up for body weight as students. I mean, Patrick's already elite, but the body weight's the only one I haven't done yet. So he'll be like recertifying, and I'll be attempting to pass. And then Nikki will be there for her level 1. So
wait, that's awesome. This is in April.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm due for it. That's on my list. I've never been, and I just think that the energy must be so fantastic.
Yeah, you should come out.
Well, and I was laughing though, because I was like, are we going to end up swinging? Like, is everyone going to have to do different training sessions together, like with the whole group,
Maybe.
I do, just to kind of like, keep it like one big, that would be kind of cool, like a big mass
Right.
Maybe they do like the morning warm up all together or something like that.
Mhm.
That would be great. That's a list of things that I want to experience, but I am not. Hi, sorry. But yeah, so I don't really the strong first. Yeah, so I attribute so much of my success to, obviously I'll give myself credit where it comes to you have to be consistent and do it, but I had a really, really good coach and a really good atmosphere to kind of get me going. I mean, there are a lot of people who walk into that and really not be into it, but I was competitive, I guess. And I was just like, this is crap. All these people are doing body weight pull-ups and I hate doing this. Like I would walk in and I would literally just hang on the bar, and my coach at the time would be like, okay, well, because they had like one of those big, like monster thing with monkey bars. And I was like, if you make me do the monkey bars, I'm going home. Like, I'm not doing it. So
we had those monkey bars.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone did them other than maybe me,
Like 2 people. Yeah.
and Cole. Cole might have
It's
like
kind
found
of
his
just
way
like cool.
across.
It's cool to look at, but I don't think it was the best investment in the end.
If they had been flat, they would have been used a lot more, I think.
Yeah, well, flat. It went straight across in.
Okay.
Whatever.
Ours were the terrifying ones that are like 15 feet high in the middle.
Yeah.
You're like, our insurance definitely doesn't cover this stuff.
Well, I'm curious about, so you have achieved your Strong First Elite status, but you said you did the level 1 in 2017. So you pretty much did them like all in a row. Like, how did that pan out?
I did level 1, level 2, body weight. Body weight for me, I thought was really tough because I don't know, like at that point, when I did my level 2, I was worried about my 20 kilogram press. Like, you know, I was like, maybe I don't really want to be on a 22, you know, who knows? And then I signed up for body weight shortly after that. So it was kind of, I was at a different point in my own strength, but I thought body weight was so hard. And I had like no cross body connection whatsoever.
That's why I've been putting it off for so long.
Yeah, really, really hard. And I really product of like being postpartum and having kids. It has to be like, I mean, maybe not, maybe it was just me, but I do think that really just, you know, being strict about it and like keeping your hips in line. But the single leg deadlift, as a primer for it, like was, you know, contralateral definitely helped. I mean, I definitely have a couple things that I thought really, really worked programming wise for me personally, if you ever want to.
That helped you build up your 1-arm push-up?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I kept piking, like I couldn't figure out how to lock in. It would be like, oh, don't you feel your butt? Like you're squeezing. I'm like, I can't feel anything. Like, I don't understand.
You're like, you know, I'm on one hand, right?
Like, I don't feel anything. This is garbage. But anyway, so it took me a really, really long time to do it. And I really took out, because I was pressing, I was doing push-ups 3 times a week. I really was not doing much overhead pulling. I was kind of just really focusing on the push-up. And that was like months, like probably a little bit over 6 months, 7 months. It was tough. But then I loved it. It's like one of those things where for me, if I decide I have a goal, I get obsessed with whatever the movement is, right? So, you know, Iron Maiden has been on my mind for, it was 2 years and 8 months to the day, because I started when I could only pull an 8K for 3. And then it was COVID. I had all my lifts. I pulled the 28 for a single. Wow. And then it was like, I don't know when the world's coming back, and I was tired, you know, like at that point I had done a Plan Strong program. I'd been on it for probably a little bit too long. I had repeated it. And just because it was COVID and I was like, I'm still into it. I just, my hands needed a break. I was like, okay, but so then I took a break and I kind of focused more on my deadlift, and then I just kind of like lost it for so many reasons. I wasn't sure I was going to go back to it. But I was like laying in bed at night, tortured by it, thinking like, oh my gosh, it was like the marathon I never ran, you know, like I trained and I never even tried. And it was really screwed in my brain, to be quite honest. And then I was like, I'm just doing it. I have to go back and do it.
So what did your most recent training look like before you like officially tested?
So over COVID and really for the past couple of years, I had been training 4 days a week. A little bit more, I mean, outside of the Plan Strong program. So like, I'd say after I stopped that, I was just still training 4 days a week, more of kind of like bro split, like upper body, then lower body. So then I started working with Mike Perry. He programmed me when I moved to Boston, and I was just like in a weird spot. We had moved and you get exhausted. Like, you moved this past year too. It just like the whole thing starting over again. And granted, I'm not in a totally new place. I have family here. I grew up here, but it's still, it's completely exhausting. So I was like, oh man, what if I don't even like lifting anymore? I was so unmotivated and I was just depressed. So then I'm like kept texting, or I messaged my friend, like, please, can you please help me? Like, and honestly, I had worked with my friend Ross on Olympic lifting. It was like, I was still moving, but I wasn't used to not feeling the intensity that I had carried for so long. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I lost it. Like, you know, and if I was sitting there with anybody else or coaching somebody else, I'd be like, you just need a break, but it's your own brain. And anyway, so long story short, I kind of took a couple of months with him and I went down to training 3 days a week because I had been training 4, and I just like, if it's on paper and I don't do it, I get upset. So then it was like, okay, you're not getting this done because your life is a disaster right now. Like, down to 3 days, like that's a logical thing to do. You're not going to implode or lose all your strength. And again, these are all the things that if I was sitting next to somebody as a coach, I know these things, but it's really nice to have somebody behind you being like, okay, it's okay. You know, like you're not going to lose all your gains because now you're only training Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's going to be okay.
Right. Well, I think that's really important to acknowledge because like you said, we have those conversations with our students as well. And we're all humans, right? So we need to give ourselves a little bit of grace where we need it sometimes.
That is a goal that I'm still working towards. And you know, it's a catch-22 because I think that you get results when you put the work in, right? And I don't know if I I think it would just maybe would have been like a 5-year experience for me. I still would have done it because I would have been, but like, you know, being locked in my house, cooking my own food, doing nothing but pull-ups to make me happy for however long that was, that definitely impacted my strength, right? Like that, there was no like going out for drinks with friends. There was nothing. It was like, I'm meal prepping. I'm yelling at the kids to sit and do their work. I'm going to try to coach people online because that was all I had at that point because I just couldn't handle doing it with the kids right next to me. So like that was up in the air. And then I was meal prepping and then doing pull-ups. So, you know, that's not sustainable for real life. Like that was a really,
that sounds like a great life, actually.
Sounds like a really great life. And it was a great, but you know, like real life comes back and, you know, then it's the kids have stuff after school and you don't have time to, you know, train with the same amount of time that you used to. Like it's time, not, you know, and then, yeah. So, and it also really helps. Like my husband has always been so supportive, so supportive. And he's not in fitness at all. Like he trains because I make him and he wants to, you know, get around off the toilet on his last day. But, you know, he doesn't love it the way that I love it. So he's, you know, laying in bed with me and watching, look at my pull up on the day or look at my deadlift on the day. Like pretty good spouse, right? Like I think that if he came and said, hey, Alana, look at my golf swing over and over and over again, I'd be like, hey. But he was fantastically supportive. And, you know, back to the time part of it, like you really have to have support if you're going to go after one of these goals.
Mhm.
If you like, there's no, or in some capacity, or you're just, I mean, it's just time, right? So, you know, I can't put the kids to bed. I 10, you know, lifts left on the day. Like I got to go home and do, or go downstairs in the basement in 8-degree weather and stick the heater on and hope to God my hands don't stick to the bar.
Yeah.
Instead of watching, you know, whatever show we could be watching together.
Right.
So that's like, you know, marriage stuff and, you know, family stuff, but that definitely impacts people's ability to kind of stick with a program or stick with whatever their goal is. Like if your spouse is giving crap about it, it's much more challenging. But he was
Totally.
like, go do your thing.
Well, even when you brought it down to 3 days, like how long were those sessions taking, even though the frequency was lower?
Probably still like an hour and a half.
Okay.
Realistically.
Yeah, that's a big commitment.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably still an hour and a half, but also like, you know, it really depends on how intense I am on and committed to the actual training session, right? Like I work out of my home now. So there are some days I feel like I'm training all day long, right? Because I'll
Mhm.
start and then I'll stop and then I'll go back to it because, you know, I've got a client or I've got to pick up the kids or do something. So then it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm still out here. And that's my own fault at this point. Like I need to be like put in my calendar. I know the things I need to do to make that not happen often, but I mean, it happens, right? So, but it probably was still about an hour and a half.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, pretty much all of our students also train on that Plan Strong style setup. We pretty much combine like Plan Strong, Built Strong, and Strong Endurance, like for all of the strength and conditioning work. So it's been interesting to see, depending on people's needs, like some of our folks do have 90 minutes that they can dedicate to training, but some only have 25 or 30 minutes. So it's just been really cool to see how you can still apply that system to a lot of different needs and goals.
Yeah, it works. I mean, it totally works. It's just committed to the numbers, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and it kind of takes away that like emotional guesswork, I guess. If you're just, like you said, if it's written down, you don't like to not check it off. So
Right.
you don't have to be like, I know I need to train today, and what am I going to do? What did I do last time? Because it's all written
It's all
out.
literally planned for you. And I think that that's, you know, I definitely, there's a personality type, I think, that gravitates towards that more. Like that, I love that. That to me, I'm like, okay, it's awesome. Like I know exactly what I'm doing. I love having a plan. And I think now, you know, for the past probably, so I'm probably like a month out now from Iron Maiden, and I have been so depressed because it's over. Like,
Yeah, what are you going to do now? What's next?
and I was sitting with them like, this is so lame. Like, I can't believe that I just am not walking around like flying. And I think that so much of it was just because it was a direction I was heading in for so long. And I hadn't really given what I wanted to do next much thought, because I was like, that's like jinxing it, right? Like, I don't want to think too much about it. That's like too full of myself. So then everything happened, and then there was no plan. And I was totally depressed. It took me probably like, I'd say 2.5 weeks of a funk. And I didn't want to work out. I didn't want to do anything.
Mhm.
And I think it was just a combination of working so hard for so long. And, you know, I definitely took some breaks, but I didn't take a lot of breaks. I was really committed to it. And I mean, I'm
Mhm.
still in my fitness, but again, it's really mental. And when you get onto a goal like this and you commit to it, and you're, you know, like dreaming about pull-ups at night.
Yeah.
Then it's, now what do I dream about? But I have some ideas of where I want to go next, but I don't think I would have been able to stick with it for so long if I didn't have community, if I didn't have different coaches along the way helping me. Like, you don't wake up and be a doctor, right? Like, you go to medical have mentors. And I really think that that's probably one of the biggest things that people miss when they see people on Instagram or on social media, and they're just like jacked and sweaty, and they're like, oh, they were born like this. And I mean, maybe they were, but everybody needs a teacher. And I really have been blessed with having really good coaches.
Have most of your coaches been in person, or have you worked remotely with people?
I have Noah, actually, Maxwell program, my deadlift.
Nice.
After I stopped training with Tyler, and he probably was the only one that I was remote with. I'm an in-person coach myself. Like, I like that. I definitely thrive on the energy of like in person more. I mean, I have and for right now, like actually my Perry's Place has a great setup for somebody like me. Like, he'll program and he's physically there, but he has, 10 other of his clients there. So if I'm, doing some things, whatever, he's there if I need him. But for me, it's like you walk in and there's, he's got a lady in the morning who looks probably about 60ish. She's like pulling 300 pounds. It's a great atmosphere. I'm like, it's amazing. And he's got all these fighters. So for me, given that I have my own space and I'm a, coach myself, like, I need the community. I need to be around people. I need to, that's very important to me. So, but anyway, so when I was in my funk, he was like, it's okay to take a break and like, just relax. I'm like, but I really don't know how to relax. Like, I'm trying really hard to relax. So I
think a lot of us can empathize with that for sure, because training also like helps relieve stress as well. So moving your body in some sort of way, even if you're not pushing it to the maximum effort, I think is still like very mentally beneficial. So sometimes when people are like, just rest, like, you earned it, you're like, well, then I'll just become more anxious if I do that.
Like, I totally understand that. And, and it's funny because I was talking to one of my clients about being on a program, but then not being on a program, and saying that she was looking at some people on Instagram and how they were doing, they seem to be doing different stuff every day. Right. And I felt that's a really good point. And some of the people that she was referencing are really strong. I would guarantee that they're at like a maintenance phase right now. They don't have major goals that they're really focusing on or that they really care about achieving right now. Just kind of moving to move, which is why they're doing every day. But so for me, and I was using myself as the example, I'm like, I'm kind of like messing around right now the past couple of weeks, but I almost don't like it. I'm like, oh, what's the point? But there is the point. Like, it makes your brain feel good or your body feel good. But in my mind, I'm like, well, what's this working towards? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, and for us, I think, I mean, I can't speak for Patrick because he's still like ridiculously strong. It's annoying, but we're
by some standards, I guess.
We've been kind of exploring some of the kettlebell sport style training recently.
Yeah.
And like I went to my first RKC in 2011, like before Strong First became. So like hardstyle is so heavily ingrained in my blood. Anytime I would even see those kettlebells that were different colors, I was like, I can't touch them. Like, I don't know what they do. I can't be near them.
Fire if you touch them.
Yeah. And now we have a pair of many different sizes, but kind of just like, for me, having fun, exploring a different style of movement. And I'm just trying to stick with the overarching setup of like either plan strong or the strong endurance, like work rest ratios, but I'm not necessarily pushing the load just yet, which also can be interesting. Like you were saying, like, what is the point?
But there's a major point. Like, you need to move, you need to feel good about yourself. And I think that's but I think especially if you're surrounded with people or surrounding yourself around people who really are goal focused, we forget that it doesn't have to be like that all the time.
Well, it reminds me of this is a Hormozyism, but
Well, explain to them who that is. You can explain who that is.
Well, I mean, you can look him
Okay,
up
you
on
can
your own
Google
time,
him.
but then you'll start getting all of his ads. But he talks about like you can have a focus on winning or losing the game, whether the game is business or the game is fitness or something like that. But really, where you want to put your focus is on playing the game itself. And so, from a training perspective, you know, like you were saying, you were giving yourself such a hard time about not doing the Iron Maiden and not trying, and if you will, like that could almost be like focus on having lost the game. And that's a little bit of a different story because it's like something you're working towards. But when you sort of fall in love with that daily process or that daily and consistent challenging of yourself and what you're capable of, that I think can help somebody through those funks or through those moves or whatever obstacle it is that's coming up. So I know at least for us, it's sort of hit that point because so much of our Plan Strong work is in our spreadsheet. So we have all these numbers that we've like experimented with or tried out, or other students have tried out. And we're like, how did that go? How did this plan go? So it's this constant refining of the process without any necessarily targeted outcome, you know, just continuing to push everything forward. So I think that's a helpful mindset shift, but it's hard. Like you can't do that all the time. Sometimes you have to pick something and start progressing directly toward that.
Yeah, I mean, for so long, I really kind of was just general fitness goals. It was not, you know, it really started in 2017 for me, where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and it caused so much anxiety, the physical demonstrating and testing out, because like I said, I was not an athlete growing up. You know, like this was like, I have to physically do this. It made me so nervous. Like the whole thing. And so that for that kind of stuff though, if you're going to push yourself or pick a goal, yeah, you have to work hard. You have to be committed to it. But I agree. I'm working on, I don't want to get too comfortable because I don't feel like I'm done yet. You know, like I still have.
Oh, the game never ends.
Yeah.
You play forever.
You can still do Sinister.
Totally. I want to do Sinister. I love to do Get Up with the Beast because I have a 40 ball. And I've never even tried to hold a 44 because I don't have one. So
wait, can I just, what you just said, Jason and I were talking about this morning, where sort of this idea of like people will say, I want to swing a 32 kilo bell one day. And it's like, it's not just going to happen one day, right? Like you're going to do some deadlifts with it. And then maybe you'll try doing 2 hand swings, and then you might try to pick it up and goblet squat, but that won't happen if you don't have it there in the first place. And I think sometimes people are afraid to get heavier bells because they're like, I'm not ready yet, but it's like, just leave it there. And eventually you'll come to it, you know? So yeah, that's an awesome attitude. Like you just got to try something.
I'm all into right now. And all of these things for me personally have all been things that have scared me, right? Like, because all of the Strong First certifications pushed me out of my comfort zone. You know, doing
having to redo the snatch test like every time too.
How about that snatch test that we, Patrick, and I had an asthmatic attack halfway through. It was like so humid. We were in Philadelphia, so humid. And halfway through, I was like, oh, I can't breathe. Because there was no air. We were in like that volleyball court.
Yeah.
I was like for 15 minutes afterwards. And when Phil was talking to us, I'm like, I can't breathe. Anyway, I didn't want to get up and move because he was talking to everybody. I'm like, so bad.
That place was tough.
That was brutal. That was so hot. And that was really sad. And on top of it, I wasn't actually supposed to be assisting. So I hadn't been really snatching that much on top of that. So that might've been like why I has my attack. But anyway, so now I'm trying to figure out new goals that scare me, that I kind of think I can't do. And that's how Iron Maiden started. I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do a 24 kilogram pull-up. Like this is ridiculous.
You should pull up the ranking tables for kettlebell sport. That'll scare you pretty quickly. Like Rachel and I were going over it, and none of the women's ranks even start until double 24 kilo.
Really?
And all the men's rankings are double 32 or 32 for snatch.
But that just seems so unfair to me. Like they have these different levels, like Master of Sport is one of the classifications. So for him, he would do double 32, clean and jerk, long cycle for 10 minutes. And my weight would be double 24s. Like, doesn't that not seem fair? That's like one bell apart from each other.
No, that's not actually, that does not seem right.
I kind of agree with you. It seems a lot harder for the ladies, but who knows? I don't know what the total rep counts are. Because just as
maybe
an
it's
example,
like 10
maybe
reps.
it's like 35. Well, let's look it up. But this is interesting stuff, I think, because you and Rachel and I all come from hard style backgrounds. And you look at the sports stuff and then you start to realize like, man, this really looks tough. And that, I'm just throwing out an idea in terms of like, that could be a goal that you start working towards, or like even just testing.
We see
like,
Alana with some sport bells.
If I try to do this.
I'm gonna have to give them back.
Maybe there's still some Cyber Monday sales.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I bought boxes from Perform Better because they're in Rhode Island, and that was my Christmas gift. And we have to go drive down and go pick them up. So I was like, we have to go drive down because they want to pay for shipping, right? It's like, I was being cheap. I just wanted to go get them. And I really just want to be able to go in and look and then be like, oh, I totally need that.
How far is it from you? Is it Providence?
Yes, it's probably like, I think 50 minutes away from me.
Okay.
It's gonna be 8.
One of our students who is a field hockey umpire, he had ordered I forget what size bell. Was it from Rogue or?
He ordered 2 32 kilos from Rogue. And are you talking about Ben?
Yeah, when he picked it up.
Yeah, he picked it up at Rogue headquarters.
Because he's always on the road, like all along the East Coast and the Midwest for games. Yeah. And he sent us a picture like of the gym when he went to pick up the bells. So
oh my God.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, like it's an experience. I want to go.
Yeah. But it's funny because they always have that option on the website. And sometimes we're just like, why would I ever pick that up in person? But it's actually like really awesome if you have the time to go do it.
It's not exactly probably holiday season time that we should be doing it, but we're going to do it.
True.
So, for Master of Sport, in the 65 kilogram weight class, it's 100 double clean and jerk with 24 kilo bells in 10 minutes without putting the bell down.
So 65 kilo.
For men, hold on. For men, it is in my weight class, which would be 90, it's 58. So it's like almost double the reps for long cycles specifically, which is kind of nuts.
Wait, why is it so much more?
100 reps.
Are we sure this is correct? 65 kilo is only 143 pounds.
Say that again.
For women at what did you say? What was your complaint about 65 kilo?
Right, or 65?
It's 143 pounds.
Okay. Would you like me to choose a higher weight class?
No.
Okay. I just picked the one directly in the middle. So for 65 kilo, it's 100 double clean and jerk in 10 minutes.
With the 24s.
With the 24s, correct.
Wow.
But for the men, it's only 58 with 32s.
Which is kind of crazy.
How does that even make sense?
Even at the heavyweight weight classes of 100 kilo plus, it's 63. I mean, it's a 33% increase in weight. But you might have a 200-pound man.
Yeah, but those people weigh like twice what I do, and they get to use.
They don't weigh 300 pounds or like 280.
I know, but
that's strong, man.
It still seems unfair. It says 100 kilo plus.
Yeah.
Still only has to do.
I don't like that. I feel like the weight classes need to be smaller.
So, but that is actually really interesting. I didn't know it was. So the cadence for women is much higher. You have to be hitting 10 reps a minute, whereas the men can hit 6 to 8 reps per minute.
That's
and achieve master of sport.
like a whole 20 seconds. You could probably just relax.
Well, you
that's
can't
pretty
put them
interesting.
down either, so that's a little. But see, this is, I think, is more up my alley. They have this like women's, I don't know what this is, professional class,
Mhm.
where it's 20 kilo, and
Okay.
then that's only 48 reps with 20 kilo
10 minutes.
in 10 minutes.
All right, that seems a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah, that seems more doable.
But don't you want your traditional Russian title of master of sports?
I don't know. It definitely scares me. So that fits into
Yeah.
Alana's
Yeah.
category for a goal.
I guess, okay, let me rephrase it. Scares me, but there's like a small voice that thinks I can do it right now.
Yeah.
I think there's like, I'm scared, but there's something that says maybe you could do it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have like the beast. I stick with my Turkish getup eventually. I kind of want to get my deadlift back because deadlifting always makes me feel good about myself. And
Do you like participate in the TSC usually, or have you not done that?
I've never done it actually. I've never done it. Not opposed to. Just haven't, like, for the past however many years, I've just been plugging away on these goals. So I was like, my goal to go do TSC.
Yeah.
But yeah, I maybe consider doing TSC. I want to do Sinister. That's definitely on. That goes hand in hand kind of with both of my get up and deadlifting. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I also so now that I'm up at School of Strength, I've got all these fighters around me, and I've made all these new friends who are
Oh.
doing Muay Thai, and I'm like, I like wrestled my brothers when I was growing up. I've never even done totally.
Well, Anita's on
yeah,
the call.
and that's
She's
what I was gonna say.
a black belt in jujitsu. She could kick all of our butts.
I mean, so I do think probably before kettlebell sport, I'll end up getting, yes, see, I see it. But so I have to, I thought, but this is how silly I am. I was like, what's a GI? Like, I was thinking that the suit, right? Like, where do I go buy one of those? So I have a lot of learning to do, but
Is this what the military wore in the 1940s?
I'm like so embarrassed, but I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about or doing, but I'm fully admitting it. But so I do think that will, but again, that's not something that you can really commit yourself to and still chase numbers. So like with bells. So I like want to do it, but I don't want to take away quite yet from my strength gains. So I have to kind of figure that out. But I've got the bug. Like I see all these people who are, and then Mike's practicing on the side with Derek. And it's just, I get FOMO pretty easily. So we'll see. We'll see. I think that's probably where I'm going to go next. And then of course my husband's like, wait a minute, you're going to go fight people? And I was like, yes, as long as I'm not fighting you, it should be fine. Right.
So
But-
you mentioned kind of like in the beginning that you had like a lot of this mobility that you didn't necessarily have control over.
Oh yeah.
Were you just always like very flexible, or like did you do gymnastics or anything before? Or
No, I was pretty flexible. Like I used to have splits, and I practiced yoga thinking, I don't know, I like yoga. I like the mental space of it, but I was very hypermobile. And I think that, I mean, I'm not so much anymore. I'm still pretty mobile given how heavy I lift and how long I've been lifting heavy. But that I think is genetic.
mm-hmm.
Like,
do you do anything like to,
oh, sorry.
Do you do anything to maintain like any sort of flexibility now, or are you just focus mostly on the weight training?
I warm up. I'm still, I'm still pretty, I'm not like pushing my splits anymore, if that's what you're asking. Like I'm not, because I was like, I had splits in all directions, and then, I didn't. But I mean, I'm still pretty mobile. Like I sit in a 90-90 and everything's hitting the ground, you know, and I now,
awesome.
like now when I snatch, when I first am like warming up snatching, I do tend to catch like behind my ear, you know, like so I have to, you know, bring it back. And as you know, as I get, if it's a lighter bell, especially, I'm like way back. And I feel it. Like I don't really see it until, you know, I look at a video and I'm like, all right, well, that's like 5 inches away from your ear. You should probably focus on not doing that.
Straight up.
Fine.
Well, that's a good point. Recording your sets and looking at videos of yourself. Is that something you practice pretty much every set, or do you just like look at one?
I mean, no, working sets. Like I shouldn't say that. Warm up sets is for snatching. I definitely record. But I pretty much record everything, like at any of my major lifts, and then, you know, accessory stuff I don't so much. But it's really important, and it's not just for the likes on Instagram. It's, you know, once you, and especially for my students, people are very uncomfortable at first off, you know, recording themselves, and they're like, I don't want to see myself and all that. But for people to consistently see how they're moving, and then the slowing down, like it's invaluable, right? Like and it's just getting them comfortable looking at themselves. I think moving is really the initial hurdle. But because then when you slow it down, you can point out or see eventually, right? Like hopefully we're teaching them how to move, or, you know, for myself, if I'm recording myself, hopefully I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, that looks like garbage. Don't do that. You know, people get lazy, and, you know, sometimes you think you're doing it and then you're not. And it's just another way to check, because nobody's perfect. There's no perfect rep. There's no perfect lift. Everything can be better. That's, you know, kind of what, you know, recording is important, and that helps.
Yeah, I feel like we've been in the habit of doing that for a little while now, but now it's
it was kind of annoying how many training videos were on the hard drive. We're like looking for pictures of Cami and Romy, and it's like everything is just barbells and kettlebells. And like, I'm like, why is this video here? This is a training session from like 6 years ago. Who cares anymore?
You like going back? I love that.
It is cool. Yeah. No, it is cool. But I'm like, oh my God, there's so many.
But this is like how nerdy we are. This made me laugh. Actually, you told me this story, but I'll just retell it. You know how like your iPhone will make little videos for you, and it's like memories from Thanksgiving last year. Well, all of our training plans, we like favorite so that we can find it easily.
We screenshot and favorite.
And his was like this video. It had like pictures, and then it was like training plan. And it's supposed to be just like a montage video of like memories, and it like sets it to a song, and he's like, look, and then it's
like spreadsheet. Other spreadsheet. I'm like, what the hell?
There's no judgment.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a, you know, so I think, you know, my husband's always like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna post that on social media? I'm like, maybe. So what if I am? You know, but for social media, I love, you know, it's more my personal diary. I don't, because all of my clients have been through word of mouth here, and that's kind of how they were in Hoboken. And I love social media and, you know, obviously I have the love-hate with it for so many reasons, but I'm still there because I love the support, and I love seeing people do amazing things. And, you know, it's not the normal. Like I was explaining to my kids tonight, I was like, Chris, Poppy's going to pick you up from soccer because Mommy's going to talk to her friends about training. He's like, why do they want to talk to you? And I'm like, because I do it differently than most people. That's why. You know, and for my kids, I think that's really important, because, you know, it's okay to be a little bit different, right? Like how many moms are sitting at home deadlifting in front of their kids while they're doing their homework? And that's important. I want my kids to see that. And I think that so much of social media is garbage, that if you have something good to post in the sense of like empowering and showing, especially for women, like, sorry, Patrick, we just accept that guy.
No.
But like, especially for women to be like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to move this weight. And like, for me, it's not about being skinny. It's about feeling good, but I feel pretty damn powerful with these big pieces of iron in my hand. Like it changes everything about you. I'm in my, like, and from the people that I've coached, it changes how you walk. You just feel stronger in your life. And that I think is the biggest blessing of social media for me, is that when I started following fitness accounts, they had, I wasn't posting any of my fitness, but I was watching wonderful women perform at seemingly impossible lifts. And that is important. It was important. It still is important. And on the flip side, seeing these same people being honest about their like the ups and the downs of it, like that's important too.
What are like three ladies that you like to follow on Instagram for your inspiration?
Like you, first and foremost. You're fantastic. Well, did you see Kettle Kells? She pressed the 28 today.
No.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Pressed the 28. I was like, that's amazing. I really like Anne Miguel out in, I don't know, she's Utah, I think. Who else do I like? Jen Meehan. I think she's amazing. She's super strong.
Super strong.
Yeah, like she's fantastic.
Like, what is her pull up, like with the 40 kilo now or something crazy?
Yeah, but I like that she's honest about like when she takes her breaks and when she's, just in a maintenance phase. Like, I think we all kind of get caught up in like, okay, I have to be strong, right? Okay, if you're in this industry, right? Like, or if you really like training for strength, right? I have to be strong all the time. And then when you're not, it really is good to see other people doing what we do, being honest about where they are. And it's not just like, I'm going to post the highlights. And I need to post more of like the junk, like to be honest with, like I'll comment on it and be like, this is good. But like the last 6 months have been garbage. Because in my mind, I'm like, nobody wants to see me like sitting on the side of, the barbell, like being upset because but
They might.
It might be your most like post
it'll
ever.
go viral.
Yeah, that would go viral. Be like, look at this sappy lady crying over barbell. Anyway, I think of who else I really like. You know what? I'm gonna do a post on it, and I'm gonna post women.
Those are some good ones. Those are great.
Yeah, but I think that's the best part about social media for me, and being able to do this and talking to people, especially through COVID, and just our industry so whacked out and so many crazy things. But I mean, you guys did a tremendous pivot. You guys are such a fantastic online presence. Like you put work into it. It is an impressive. It's impressive. Are most of your clients through online now, or do you have now at your training
We
at
have
home?
2 folks that come in person.
Yeah, we just have like 2
everybody
people
else
locally.
online.
Everyone else is
online
across America.
Like how amazing is that you're able to, I mean, what a blessing to have social media and to have this capability, right? I mean, I don't know what we would have done without it during this.
Well, I know this is like sort of an extreme, but we read this story once about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and sort of one of his first forays into fitness as a business was he was selling mail order training programs and catalogs. And so he was working as a brick mason as his day job, and then people would order training plans from him and he would pack them up in envelopes and send them out. So it's kind of amazing how folks have been reaching people in this realm, for a really long time in really creative ways.
And it's just so much more accessible now, and people, I think it's forever changed. Like it will forever be available. I mean, I think it's, I really very grateful for it. Over COVID, I didn't have a space for like separate from where my kids were learning. So that was,
Yeah,
that
that's really hard.
challenge because we were, we weren't in a house, we were in a condo. So I definitely had some frustrations with it. But so how do you guys work, or how do you guys split up your clients? Am I allowed to ask you questions? I'm sorry. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Sure. Yeah.
So how do you guys, who does what?
I feel like we do a lot of 50-50.
Yeah, I mean,
Stuff,
I think at
but-
this point, everything's pretty much 50-50. I mean, I think we usually give people the choice, like even new folks, because sort of what happens is we will have a conversation with someone who might be interested in meeting with us, and then at a certain stage, we send them a link to schedule with us. And presumably they've either seen something that I've posted or Rachel has posted. And then so we kind of give them the choice, like you'll be able to book with either of us. So, just click on who you like more when you go to the link.
But some people work with both of us.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, some people will work with back and forth on a regular basis, but I think my appointments are generally like first thing in the morning, and Rachel's are closer to lunch and like the afternoon. But then other than that, like we split everything. And like Rachel pretty much has full knowledge of our website and how email communications go out, and we film 4 classes a week, right?
Mhm.
And like we both can operate the camera and upload videos and stuff like that. So I would say at this point it's pretty much all 50-50.
I mean, I'm pretty much the Instagram person, but Patrick recently started posting a lot on Reddit, so he has a big presence on there,
Cool.
which is a whole different platform that like I'm not very comfortable with, but he's really great at, and I feel like that kind of complements each other because it's not his favorite thing to like be on Instagram stories, and
You're
like,
not gonna see me do like a reel with a filter on and all that stuff. So unless
Any-
Rachel pulls
any
I'll
videos
happily
of
do it there.
Patrick I've like stolen either from his phone or screen recorded like from one of our classes or something like that. So yeah, like we try to play to our strengths, and I think like a lot of the back end stuff Patrick usually does, but like he said, like I know how to do it. Like if shit hit the fan, I can do all those things.
Mhm.
But we've gotten into like 3 newsletters a week, so we kind of like brainstorm about that together. And Shantae Cofield, who's the movement maestro on Instagram, she was like a really big influence for me, and especially when we were pushing everything online only. And she talks a lot about batching your time, and that's something that we like totally we're like, we need to master this, like if we're going to have kids at home, or like, ideally they'll be in school, but who knows, I don't know, they might have to be remote again at some time.
I really hope
so
not.
I
Yeah,
know
me too.
we really batch, like Monday is like an admin day, and Tuesday through Thursday are client facing days, and Friday we try to make more flexible for family stuff. But just like being able to batch your time and using Acuity, the scheduling tool, has really like changed our lives for the better, I think.
Yeah, we
So-
definitely, it's funny, I'm definitely in the works for the whole online and the website thing, because I've been word of mouth, and it's like, people it's people that I know, right? Like I'm working out of my house, right? So I'm not for, to bring random people around. Typically I want somebody that I know or around, like I have a connection to. But that is on my list of things to do in 2022, is to kind of get my own situation a little bit more. But again, it's like we just,
one step at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny because I remember when one of the things that who Rachel mentioned earlier, Shantae, had said was like, no one gives a shit what your website says fundamentally. Like just get it up, get it there, put some information on it, and just run with that, and you'll be able to update it as you go. And like that was really helpful for me, who I get like really emotionally attached to the efficacy of like different things that I've set up, and like if it doesn't work well, I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
So with our website, we were like, I think we literally put the picture of us
Camden,
that
our
Cammy
5-year-old
took,
took the
and we're
picture.
like holding kettlebells, and we were like, you know, we'll teach you how to use a kettlebell. Boom, let's work with that and just keep going, right? And that has been really helpful, because the stuff that people care about is like when they DM you, or they'll send us an email with a question, and then, you know, they only got that email or found Instagram because of these things, the page or the website.
Yeah.
So when you take the opportunity to interact with those folks, like that's really the stuff that drives business, versus, you know, having the most perfect website ever or something like that. So,
but we do use Kajabi. We're a big fan of Kajabi.
mhm.
I definitely need to look into it.
I mean, maybe you guys, some of our students can speak otherwise, but they have access to like an app on their phone if they want to use it on there, or just pull up the website. So
Good
All
stuff.
I know, this is Anita, and I just don't want to be on camera
okay.
for like 5 seconds. Here I am. Okay. No, all I know is that when I first followed them on Instagram, like Rachel answered a question. You know, I'll ask and like not be too pushy and try to, you know, talk their ear off. But then she engaged me in the conversation. She like asked me a little bit more, and I was like, she's talking to me. I appreciated that so much, that she took time to do that for me and to answer my question. And then I was hooked, and I've been here ever since. So.
That's great. That's amazing. And
Oh,
you're
and
Yeah,
that's
that's
also,
awesome.
yeah, she is.
yeah. I'm gonna call you. We can figure some stuff out, because that might be my next try. I gotta myself on a mat.
Yeah, it's fun. It's uncomfortable, and you know, just like you have to start over again, and you have to bite down on your ego and do all that fun stuff. But then once you get into it, there's another world out there. Like
Yeah.
Rachel and Patrick with climbing, they're just like, try something new, you know? So
Totally.
It's fun to suck at stuff.
Mhm.
Right? It's so humbling, and that kind of, I'm ready for. I think I just need a little bit of a break from, maybe not. I don't know. I go back and forth, because in my mind I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do that, but then I also want to do these other things. But it kind of doesn't work like that. You know, like you can't really, not kind of, it doesn't. Like you can't really keep pushing and then, you know, get on a mat 3
Well,
times a week.
that's something that we've experimented with recently, is what we've called ultra low volume training. And so we've been taking Plan Strong, and instead of running like Pavel's numbers through it, we're running volumes that are like 50% or maybe even 2/3 lower. And it's been my favorite training ever. And so like you might have, just as an example, 5 reps of heavy squats and like 15 reps of medium presses. And that that session, you know, might be a few sets, and it might take you like 20 minutes, aside from your warm up. I mean, whatever you do to warm up. But and I know Anita actually, because she has done a lot of the the video versions of those ultra low volume sessions. And it's been going pretty well for her with the jujitsu combination, because it's so low volume, but the intensity is still high enough that you're not going to lose any strength, because you're still training pretty heavy. So, but it's really cool to see how like you could take some of these numbers and just really hack them down to what's only necessary to maintain your current fitness. So, we'll have to talk about that stuff too.
Yeah.
I want to get a picture really fast before we. Ready, guys?
Hold on. It looks like I have no hair right now.
1, 2, 3.
Death.
But I wanted to open it up to you guys also, like if anyone else has any questions, comments, before I thank Alana for her time. It's been awesome.
Thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate it.
And we recorded this one, so we don't always record them, but we try to record the special guests. So I will upload this onto YouTube and make it public so that anybody can watch the replay.
And yeah, I will keep in touch on fun new goals. And I'm AMO Athletics. Yeah.
Here, let me. Oh, I'm going to type it in. There we go.
That's me.
And I believe I sent it to all you guys in the Table Talk email. There was a link to her Instagram as well. So
Nice.
yeah, you can follow all of Alana's next adventures and scroll back to see all of her previous awesome lifts.
I'm not done chasing numbers quite yet. So we'll I just needed a little bit of a break. I'm trying to be gentle with myself. But then I'm psyched to like get back on. This week is my first week back on like a real program, and it felt good. You know, like I was sort of lost without the sheet of paper, and that's maybe another story. But who cares? If this is the one thing that makes me, you know, I like the piece of paper. Who cares? It is what it is. But
I love the piece of paper.
Yeah,
I
think
love
everyone on this call loves the paper.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's thank goodness we have
Jeannie's got hers.
to go, and you know it's fun, and every day. And I think back to the whole Iron Maiden thing, it wasn't about, and I think half of the letdown too, and letdown is I was still very happy, but you become the Iron Maiden throughout the journey, right? Like the shockers, right? For me, like I had pulled the 28, I pressed the 24, like my pistol was at a 36. So the shockers are along the way. Like that's the addicting part of it. It's, you just keep surprising yourself, right? Like that's the fun, because it's, you know, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know. And then you do it, and fine, testing out, yes, to get your name on a list, that is a big deal. And that has 100% value. But so much of what made the experience special to me was doing so many things on my own in my garage, and being blown away by stuff I was doing that I never thought was possible 3 years ago. So, you know, I'm 35, still going, and happy to see you guys go too and be with me. And we're going to all go in April together.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll all be there. It'd be awesome.
And let me know how the push-up goes, Rachel.
I'm sure I'll be sharing my terrible progress on Instagram.
Great.
At least I have this guy to help me along the way.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah, we'll get that one down.
It'll be just fine.
I can't look bad for Patrick. So
No.
You know, I am excited. Rachel mentioned this before, but we're both going as students, and just to have the pressure off of assisting. Because I was saying to Rachel, like, we could show up a little later, then the assistants get to show up, like we get to leave right at the end, like, and then we get to go home and rest, like, it, you know, or we'll be hanging out with Nikki, but you know, it's just like takes some pressure off. You could be there to learn and to listen instead of like worrying about helping and doing things right and all that stuff. So I'm excited to go just as like someone in the background a little bit.
Wait, so Nikki, you're taking your level 1, right? Are you excited? How do you feel? Are you nervous? Do you want to talk? You might not want to.
We might have to
Oh, you won't stop me. I've unmuted myself. I couldn't work out how to unmute myself. Now, I am, as soon as I signed up, I wanted to vomit.
Yep, sounds about right.
But I can do it. I know I can. I went with my friend Lisa, who also trains with Rachel and Patrick, and with Rachel was there. She was assisting, and I should have just done it there and then, but I came home and was like, I've got to do it.
Friday after she dropped Lisa off at the cert, it was probably like 30 minutes into it. She texted us, I should have just signed up. But
You're
Nikki's
not-
got it. She's already passed the snatch test. She's already done everything. So
That's amazing. Do you know how many people walk in and they've never done the snatch test before? So you're already prepared, and like you have the best. You're gonna kill all of it. It's gonna be fantastic. You're
Yeah,
gonna be-
I know. It's just the nerves that might get to me.
I totally
not
understand.
good- I'm
Have
not
you
good
ever-
in like that group
Or
people. Pardon?
have you ever done anything like this before?
No.
That was me. That was me. 2017. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm here. Before I became a coach, I actually took where I was studying for my NASM CPT, like in conjunction with training for the SFG, and I was terrified. But there are a million other people who are terrified too. So you won't be alone in that feeling, and just believe in your coaches because they believe in you and they're good coaches. They're gonna.
Oh,
you'll
they're
be
fabulous.
more
Yeah.
than
They've kicked my ass for the last 2 years, so.
good. And you're
she's a strong lady.
like, it's gonna be, you'll be just fine.
And hopefully we'll see you there.
Yes, I actually, I'm gonna go look at it right now, and I'm gonna have to figure it out because I want to go.
Do
Never been. Good stuff.
Awesome, guys.
All
We'll
right.
definitely make sure you check out Alana on Instagram
Yes,
and
message me.
yeah, send her some DMs.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much. Well, hopefully I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.